Hey there YouTube, James here, and I have the brand new iPad which Apple has only just announced. Now, I thought I'd do a guide on which is the best iPad for you to buy right now if you want one of Apple's tablets. So you have four options at the moment. That's the iPad Pro 12.9, the iPad Pro 9.7, the new iPad which replaces the iPad Air 2, and then you have the iPad Mini 4. You can still buy the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Mini 2 from some retailers, but that's starting to get phased out at the moment, and Apple is no longer selling those anymore. Let's start at the bottom. It's the iPad Mini 4. This is the smallest of the iPad range at the moment. It's much lighter, it's much smaller. You're getting a 7.9-inch screen on the front. If you throw this in your bag, you're barely going to feel the weight of it. And then we have the new iPad, which has a 9.7-inch screen. It's slightly heavier than the iPad Air 2 was, but you're not really going to notice that weight difference here. It's still nice and light. It's a perfect size for holding in your hands. That's exactly the same build as the iPad Pro 9.7, but then you also have a larger iPad now, which is the iPad Pro 12.9. This thing is big, it's really quite difficult to hold in the hands. If you're going to be using this on a commute or something, you're probably going to struggle with that. But you are getting a lovely 12.9-inch screen on the front, so if you're looking for a larger iPad, this is the one to go for. So when it comes to power, the weakest of the iPad range is the Mini 4. That has an A8 processor inside. That is aging a little bit now and is not the best on the market. While the new iPad has a A9 processor inside. That's what we saw inside the iPhone 6s, so that's at least a year and a half old now. It's still not the best on the market, while the iPad Pro has a A9X processor inside. That's in both of the models. If you're going to be doing intensive tasks such as graphic design, you're going to want to go for the iPad Pro. But to be honest, if you're just looking to be playing some games or running some media apps, you're not really going to need that greatest processor inside. One of the main reasons you buy an iPad is to consume media. You want to be watching films. You may think the 12.9-inch iPad is the best route to go. That has a great screen on it. It's absolutely massive. But in real terms, if you're going to be using this on a commute or something, it's actually really difficult to hold. We'd probably recommend going for the 9.7-inch versions, either the Pro or the new iPad, for watching media on the go. The top three iPads, the iPad Pros and the new iPad, all come with a screen of 264 ppi. That's a great screen quality, while the iPad Mini 4 has an even higher number at 326 ppi. The iPad Pro models both come with 4 speaker drivers. That is fantastic for audio. If you're going to be listening to music around your house or watching films using the speakers, those are the iPads to go for. But the new iPad and the iPad Mini 4 still have quite impressive 2 speaker drivers. That's going to suit you if that's not your main focus of your iPad. So you might even not use the speakers on any of these iPad models that much. There's a 3.5mm headphone jack on each of these, and you can also use Bluetooth headphones for when you're on the go. When it comes to battery life, Apple estimates that you get about 10 hours out of watching video or about 9 hours of browsing the web. We found very similar results, and actually all of the iPads have very similar battery lives. If you're going to be using your iPad as a Pro device, if you're going to be doing a lot of productivity tasks, you're probably going to want to go for the iPad Pro models. Now, those have a smart connector on the bottom of the iPad, which allows you to add in a smart keyboard or even use the Apple Pencil alongside it. The Apple Pencil is great for graphic designers. The smart keyboard is great if you're going to be doing a lot of word processing or email while you're on the go. The other iPads do offer Bluetooth keyboards if that's what you need, but to be honest, the smart keyboard is the way to go if you're going to be doing a lot of productivity. Whether the iPad Pro can actually replace your laptop like Apple's marketing suggests, we don't really agree with it at the moment. You're probably going to need a laptop if you're going to be doing really intensive tasks on the go. When it comes to running split screen apps, we wouldn't recommend that on the iPad Mini 4. The screen is way too small, and we probably wouldn't recommend it on either of the 9.7-inch iPads. It's the 12.9-inch iPad that you want to go for that, because it's much bigger. You're going to get both of the apps running side by side. It's great for that. If you like the sound of the iPad Pro 12.9, you should know this is the most expensive iPad on the market. You're talking the upper end of £700 or the upper end of $700. That's very expensive. The iPad Pro 9.7 is around the £550 mark or the $550 mark. So a little bit more affordable, but still very, very expensive. Also, if you're planning to use it with a smart keyboard or the Apple Pencil, you're going to be spending a lot more money on those accessories as well, because they do not come cheap. The iPad and the iPad Mini 4, that's where it gets really interesting in terms of price. Now, the iPad is actually cheaper than the iPad Mini 4. That's because it comes in a 32GB version, which costs £339 or $329. Now, you can also get that in a 128GB version, which is £429 or $429. That's only a little bit more expensive than the iPad Mini 4, which costs £419 or $399. So if we were recommending an iPad right now, we would recommend the 32GB version of the iPad. You're going to get a lot less storage here for that, but in all honesty, if you're not going to be running that many apps or putting that much media onto your iPad, you're not going to need that much storage. If you're looking for the larger storage though, and you like the smaller screen on the iPad mini 4, it's still a great buy. Now, which one you should get actually boils down to what you need it for. If you need it for highly intensive productivity apps, you want to go for either of the Pros, or to be honest, you could even buy a laptop for most of those tasks. Now, the iPad is in the middle there for the 9.7-inch users that probably don't need the Pro features, or there's also the iPad mini 4 if you're looking for a smaller screen experience and something you can just throw in your bag and take on the go. Thanks for liking, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you again soon.